Hey everyone, welcome to the PTP product portfolio. My name is Sagar Deshpande. I'm the product manager for the unlicensed PTP portfolio. So today we will be covering over the high-level product portfolio for our sub 6 gigahertz product. So as you can see in the slide here, we have the PTP portfolio can be divided into two main sections. One is the licensed microwave, which is 6 gigahertz and beyond, and we have the sub 6 gigahertz, which is the unlicensed portfolio, which mainly uses the 5 gig system. We have four products in our portfolio: the PTP 450i, the newly introduced PTP 550, the PTP 670, and the PTP 700. Today we'll be going over the PTP 450i, the PTP 550, and the PTP 670 in more detail. The PTP 450i is also called as a comprehensive network. The PTP 550, as we call it as the high throughput network, is used for that, and the PTP 670 is used for resilient and challenging network. To give you like a high level perspective of what the product is and how it kind of fits in, this slide kind of shows you in detail of what our product portfolio is and lists some basic attributes for each of the products that you can use for further detail. On the left of it, we have the Hcmp solution, bridge in a box, which can be used for point-to-point solution. We also have Force 200, which can also be configured to a point-to-point. So these are on the lower tier price products. The throughput is limited to around 200 plus Mbps. It's mainly used, it has channel size from 5 to maybe 40 megahertz. It has a top QAM of 64 QAM. So basically this product line is used for links that you want 50 meg, 60 meg, 100 meg, depending on the distance you want to cover. It's kind of used in that space. The next product, a little bit towards the right side, is the Force 300-25, which is the 802.11ac Wave 2, which was just released recently. The price point for that is $169, and it's a 25 dpi dish. The max throughput it can do is around 600 Mbps, and it operates again in the 5 gig range. The channel bandwidth it supports is 20/40/80, and it has 256 QAM. I won't go into too much detail. The slides will be available later on for review. Third one is the PTP 550. This is a dual carrier, which means it has two radios built into one. This is also based on the 802.11ac Wave 2. The integrated unit is 779 and the connect price is 649. The max throughput is 1.4 GB, and it also operates in the 5 gig spectrum. So this has 2 times 20/40/80. We'll get into a little bit later on. So it's you can operate multiple channel sizes at once. Next, you have the PTP 450i, which is our proprietary solution. The integrated is 999 and connect price is 899. This operates it at 300 plus Mbps. It operates from the 49 to 59 band, and it has 5 to 40 megahertz channel bandwidth. And the last is our flagship PTP 670, which is also based on a proprietary solution. It has a top throughput of 450 Mbps, and it has a lot of channel bandwidth from 5 to 45. It's mainly used for security because of its high PPS rate and a lot of different applications. So this kind of gives you a quick analysis of the PTP portfolio. So if we were to graph price versus feature richness, the PTP 670 would be on the top. So it has a lot of features built into it, made for specific applications, followed by the PTP 450i. It's also built for that, followed by the PTP 550. If we were to graph it in a different way, where you plot throughput versus feature richness, this is what you would get. The PTP 550 is mainly meant for throughput, and that's one of its key highlights. The 670 has a good mix of throughput and feature richness, whereas the 450i has a lot of richness, but is limited a little bit by the throughput. This kind of gives you a high-level analysis of the PTP 550 in more detail. So it operates in the 51 to 59 band. It has two 20 meg, 40 meg, 80 meg channels, which we'll get into a couple of slides later on. It has an aggregate of 1.36 Gbps. It has an Ethernet port and a fiber port. Fiber port is really useful because a lot of buildings, especially newer constructed buildings, are putting in fiber by default, so it kind of helps over there. It has a latency of around 3 to 6 milliseconds. maximum power gain of 27 dBi, and it has a built-in antenna in the integrated version of 23 dBi. It has 128 AES key built in by default. Top 3 or top 4 key features of this is it supports up to 1.36 with ARQ. That's really important. It supports asymmetric non-contiguous channel aggregation, which we'll get into a couple of slides from now. It has a built-in live spectrum analyzer, so you can always see what's going on, even when your data is running this thing. It has a small form factor, it has a metal housing, and it's going to support TDD sync. So this slide explains the asymmetric channel bonding. So as I mentioned earlier, the PTP 550 contains 2 radios into it. So we can say radio A and radio B. Each radio can be configured to have different channel sizes. So the channel A can support 20, 40, 80. Channel B can support 20, 40, 80. So what this means is you can reuse, or you can use channel A's 20 meg and channel B's 40 meg, as in this example case, or you can use channel A's 80 meg and channel B's 20 meg. So based on your network configurations and how you see fit, you can use different combinations, and based on the channel sizes you use, this is the typical throughput that you might expect. This kind of gives you a little bit more in detail analysis of how you would actually use 2 channel sizes. So one method would be resilient and aggressive network. So because you have 2 channels, you can be a little bit aggressive on one channel and be resilient and safe on the other second channel. So in this case, channel 1 is a 20 meg channel in the 5.2 band, which is kind of secure, which has lower EIRP. So it's kind of reliable over there. So you have the 20 meg channel, you know for sure is good, and then you could be a little bit more aggressive in the 40 meg channel and try to get more bang for your buck, right, rather than using a 20 meg channel. So in this case, even if your aggressive 40 meg channel gets hit by interference or something like that, you still rely on the 20 meg channel for you to the link never goes down. That's the basic idea. The second option would be Dfs and Non-Dfs. This mainly applies to some of the cases, but not all. Sometimes if you are in a DFS prone area, you can it's really tempting to use that space. But once in a while, once you get hit by DFS, you have to back off for 30 minutes just by the regulatory side of things. So what you can do in this case, you can have channel A and channel B. Channel A can have DFS 80 meg channel, and channel B can be a 40 meg channel in the non-DFS spectrum. So what actually happens is if you get hit by channel A on DFS, your channel A basically moves to another channel. Meanwhile, your radio never goes down because you always have channel B available. Right? This is another advantage that you have. Some of the key differentiating features for PTP 550 is the 1.36 GB throughput, the asymmetric non-adjacent channel bonding, which I kind of explained in detail, which how you would use it for DFS and non-DFS, or aggressive and resilient. Asymmetric modulation between the 2 channels, which makes sense because if you have an 80 meg channel and a 20 meg channel, both of them will not be using the same modulation. It's going to be different. Link resiliency, which means even if, so because you have the online spectrum analyzer, which kind of monitor the next best channel that it can switch to, during a DSO, or if one of the channel gets interfered, so all the data moves on to the secondary channel, and the main channel which got hit by the interference moves to a new channel. And then based on that, once the link is established, again the load gets shared. So throughout the process, the link never drops. So you always have connectivity along the way. It has a small form factor and a metal enclosure, so which makes it durable and fit for it has IP67 rating, so it's useful for any part of the world. You can be able to use it. SFP port is really useful because you're basically getting almost 1 gig of data depending on your network conditions, and having a fiber port built in, you can kind of extract more bang for your buck through there. And it does support ARQ. Sorry. The next product that we have is a PTP 450i. This is our comprehensive network solution. We have the radio that operates in the 900 space, the 3 gig, and the 49 to 59 space. The channel bandwidth it supports is 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 30, and 40 megahertz. The aggregate throughput can go up to 300 plus Mbps. It has a single PoE port as well as 1 aux port. The aux port can be used for different purposes such as cameras, Wi-Fi hotspot, or GPS sync. it has adaptive modulation. It has a top output of 27 dBm and an antenna gain of 23 dBi. It also has it also has dynamic filtering as part of optimizing the performance in highly noisy environment. The PTP 450i we also have it in the version of ATEX and Haslock. So ATEX and Haslock are really useful for dangerous conditions where you want to deploy, such as radioactive or mining or underwater or some of those conditions. If you want to use, you have to use ATEX Haslock certification, and the PTP 450i we have a version that is, or a SKU that is certified for this. Some of the key differentiating factors for the PTP 450i is the 300 plus Mbps headline throughput. It has a narrow channel selection of the 5, 10, and 15 megahertz. It has dynamic filtering for optimal performance. This is really useful if you want to deploy like a quick 10 megahertz link in a really noisy environment. The 450i is your best friend to help you get a really high level, to get you really high throughput in narrow space. It also has the aux port, which can be used for wireless hotspot, camera, and GPS. And this is called a single platform solution because the PMP 450i, the PTP 450i, the public safety solutions, and the ATEX Haslock all can be deployed using the 450i platform essentially, and it supports ARQ. The 670 is a flagship product, field proven reliability product. So it operates from the 4.9 to 6.05 band. It supports the 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 45 megahertz channel. It has an aggregate of 450 Mbps with 900,000 packets per second. It has 3 interfaces. One is the fiber port, one is the Ethernet PoE, and the other one is the another one is the aux port for output. It has a latency of 1 to 3 milliseconds. It has a power of 27 dBm and an antenna gain of 23 dBi. It has built-in security features. It supports up to 256 QAM. It has an all-metal enclosure. This also supports DSO, which I explained earlier, which means if your network is getting hit by interference, you can automatically move on a hitless rate to another channel. The PTP 670 can be operated in point-to-point or point-to-multi or Hcmp mode. That's what we call the high capacity multi-point, which I kind of get into in a couple of slides. It supports in non and near line of sight, and it also supports SYNC-key and 1588 timer. So a quick example of how Hcmp could be deployed is in the middle of the screen you see a PTP 670 in the Hcmp marked by the 3 red lines which point to the Hcmp master. So what would happen is on the top of a tower or top of a building, you would have the Hcmp master, and the bottom, probably with the sector antenna, you have maybe 3 links that are connected to it, and each of those probably have a camera assigned to it as well. So you can kind of monitor a school, a building, any facility using this method. So you have a point to multi-point mode. So in this case, it's a building to street configuration, but you can also use it for building to building or street to street configuration as well. To explain in detail of quick explanation of how Hcmp mode works is, say you have a total frame capacity of 360 Mbps. What you do is you divide it into slots, and in the first case we do TDD 1:2 mode, right? So which means two packets or 2 slots are given to the master and 1 slot is given to the remote to come back to us. So in this case, you have 2 master slots which go to remote 1, and then 2 master slots which go to remote 2, and then one slot for remote 1 to go talk to the master, and 1 slot for remote 2 to go back to the master. So what this makes what this indicates is you have dedicated time slots available for data to be sent through. So this makes a lot of sense if you're deploying video surveillance or some sort of surveillance, because you're always going to send X amount of data through your backhaul, right? So it makes sense for you to have a dedicated line rather than use a CSMA approach where it's contention based. So in this case, you dedicatedly have a slot available for that. Similarly, if you want to use it in TDD 1:1 mode, these can be broken up into different slots. So now you have 2 slots for the master to remote 1, 2 slots for master to remote 2, one slot for remote 1 to the master, 2 slots for remote 1 to the master, and 2 slots to the remote 1 to the master as well. Some of the key differentiating features of the 670 is 450 plus Mbps headline throughput. It has the best spectral efficiency, maximum bang for your buck. So if you have a narrow channel size, or like, you can always try to squeeze out the maximum bandwidth that you can get from that. It supports narrow channel bandwidth, so 5, 10, 15. It has a packet size of 900, 800 plus 1000 packets per second. Really ideal for backhaul solution because you get a lot of packets coming through there. It supports Hcmp mode if required. Some of its top-line security features are it supports OTA, that's the over-the-air rekeying, so you don't need to manually change the key. Automatically, you can set a configuration of changing the key every 30 minutes to 1 hour to any amount of configuration. You can change it, and then the security key changes over the air. It supports AES 128 and 256 encryption. All the security parameters are encrypted. All unused ports are always locked down. It has multiple levels of access, which makes sense. Also, it supports, it's mainly built for flexibility and versatility. So it has a split frequency. You can also use it for adaptive duty cycle, depending on what kind of, what kind of data comes throughout the day. You can use an adaptive mode so that the radio automatically adjusts to it. It also supports 1588 timer as well as syncing. This kind of gives you like a high level product differentiation between the three products. I will cover some of the main key features in each of them, just to get a feel for it, just to make you understand. So each product has its own purpose and has its own product space. So for example, the PTP 550 is mainly meant for throughput and speed, right? So if you want to use a backhaul, especially in open areas where you can really use the 80 meg channel, because you can do 2 times 80, so it's a 160 megahertz channel. So if you really have like that much open space to use, the 550 is a good solution. It's also a good solution if you want to keep a link reliability like in a 2+0 configuration, because you have 2 radios built into one, so you can use 220 meg channels for high reliability and still get good performance. The PTP 450i is more of a comprehensive product. It supports the 4.9 band, and it also supports narrow channels. So and it has high, because of the dynamic filtering, it has really good noise interference cancellation. The PTP 670 is a flagship product which supports 450 plus Mbps. This is the product that has all the features and all the built into it, including syncing and 1588 timer. These slides will be posted online for you to review, but I think this gives you a fair idea of what PTP unlicensed portfolio is, what kind of products we have, and how each product can be used in different applications. Thank you so much.